Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
You know he is just looking down with the biggest smile on his face. Can you imagine? Boy, did he want to see this day. He did see this day. This one's for you, Rush. Oh, man. Anybody get any sleep last night? Did you get any sleep, Julie Gunlock? Get anything?
Barely.
Well, that'll wake you up.
And then you made me cry.
The Village people will wake you up. Well, I don't know. You're probably thinking about someone. When you saw the race called last night, you probably thought of someone. I thought of two people. I mean, other than every American voter, I thought of Rush and I thought of Andrew Breitbart because this is a heck of a day.
Really
good
is.
morning. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company after everything that this country's been through, from COVID to the lockdowns to the mandates to the school closures to the
Masks.
and the revelations of the curriculum and the
Hunter Biden's laptop.
and the media blackouts and censorships, and the American people finally had their turn to say something. And Donald J. Trump is your 47th president of the United States. And my Lord, sometimes, you start to lose hope. You start to think, my God, the system is so rigged. You start to feel like, Julie, that,
Do you start to feel like an Eeyore, Larry?
You resist the temptation to be an Eeyore. But, it's not just about our system and our country and our elections, but, we all have adversity in our lives. We all feel some days like, everything's against us and, everyone's out to get us and that we can never catch a break.
Can't get ahead.
Yeah. And God knows, with all of the headwinds that this country has had and individual Americans have had, with few exceptions, it has probably felt like that for every single one of us over the course of the last several years. With the economy and with concerns over world affairs and with crime and with, again, our schools and the future for our children. And you just feel like, the deck is stacked against you. And then, well, you got to now, whenever you feel that way, you got to pause for a second and think of Donald Trump, because you think you've had some headwinds. You think you've had some adversity. You think that the deck is stacked against you and they're out to get you. Look at what this man has gone through. And we have now just witnessed the greatest political comeback in American history. And boy, the next 4 years are going to be something to behold.
It was the best political comeback we've ever seen, obviously. But it was a campaign that was joyful and fun and positive. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't the Julie Gunlock path.
Yes, exactly. Well, there is some time for that.
Right. Yeah. But, I mean, that was such a fun campaign to watch and to be, in some ways, I felt like we were all a part of it.
The real joyful warrior.
Yes.
The real happy warrior. You're 100% right. And, by the way, I got to say, in retrospect, really reflect on this campaign. It was one of the most heavily issue-oriented and policy-oriented campaigns for president. The stark contrast between what, to Trump, it's like issue after issue after issue, from border security to immigration reform to national security to fixing our military to no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, to ending federal spending, to on and on and on. And all she had, her issue was Trump is Hitler. I'm
not Trump. I'm not Biden. That was it.
Well, this what a remarkable turn of events as we watch this unfold. And I hate to say it. I feel like I need to. I did tell you so. I mean, I told you. Now, to be fair, it hasn't been decisive quite yet, but it is certainly on the road to decisive. And also, remarkably, the major broadcast networks, Associated Press, New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, they still refuse to call this.
Yeah, they're holding out for a miracle.
They're holding out to get their marching orders. Yeah. What they want to do, they want to hear from the Kamala Harris campaign this morning. All right, you guys have a plan here? You let us know what the plan is. We'll cover you.
Yes.
But we just need to know what the plan is. But there is no plan. They reluctantly called Pennsylvania finally.
Well, for those who don't know, who went to bed at a sensible hour, Kamala never came out.
Yeah.
She pulled sort of a Hillary.
She pulled a Hillary.
So, I'm up at 2 a.m., right? I'm watching, and Trump comes out. She didn't come out and concede. Right. She's holed up.
Think of all of those people who were standing out there for hours at Howard University.
It was the exact same thing. They left the party. It was, they showed, there were some pictures of the party totally abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what Hillary Clinton did.
Yeah.
Refusing to come out and concede.
Yeah, I'll reflect. I have some really strong feelings about that, and I want to get to that. We got a lot to get to this morning,
I know.
obviously. By the way, coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to check in with Chris Stigall out of Philadelphia, because Pennsylvania really was the difference maker. You see, this is why it's remarkable that these other networks will not call this, because the moment you call Pennsylvania, it's over, because it gets them to 266, and Alaska, yes, they haven't called Alaska yet, but Alaska is going to go for Trump. And Alaska is for electoral votes. That gets them to 270. It's over. Now, Fox has gone so far as to call Wisconsin as well, which I think is fine. It's very wise to call Wisconsin. Arizona is now up to a 2-point margin. It was close all evening.
All right. Yep.
Half a percentage point. When I finally got my 90 minutes of sleep, I think it was at around 0.8% or 0.9%. It's now up to 2 percentage points. Michigan is tightening a bit because they're finally getting those votes in Wayne County, which is Detroit and the very near suburbs to the metro of Detroit. But all the indications are there. And again, like I said, as soon as you call Pennsylvania, all you need is Alaska, and he's got Alaska. It's not going the other way, not Alaska. It's really an incredible thing. What do you?
I was just noticing the
Senate races.
Senate,
Yeah,
yes.
well, we're going to talk about the Senate.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about where things stand in the House. Of course, we're going to talk about the local races here. But the Trump campaign needs to be obviously the number one conversation we have here, as we sort of rub the sleep from our eyes, if there is any, and sort of recognize exactly what the landscape is right now. And what an incredible triumph it is for Donald Trump. He did speak to his supporters. He did deliver a victory speech. We'll play a little bit of that for you coming up in just a moment. And again, this goes well beyond the presidency. It goes well beyond the Oval Office. This is a victory against adversity, yes, against all odds. It's also a victory for a brand new paradigm shift in media. And the American people, and I truly do hope, because I do love journalism. I love the media. I love broadcast media and cable news. I hope they get it now.
Well, they're not, Larry.
I am optimistic that they will.
No, I think it's totally new now.
2016, they claim, we missed the story, and then they had Russian collusion to fall back on.
Yeah.
This time around, they did not miss the story. They didn't.
But they're already spinning it, Larry. If you've watched they were already spinning it that, the American public didn't have a chance really to get to know her.
Oh.
They're already, there's no chance that they're going to change.
We will continue our conversation here on election 2024 for the presidency. Yes, we'll break down the Senate, which is a huge story right now. Whoever the new Senate majority leader is, you could very well be looking at a 55-45 or even 56-44 split in the Senate. That also means that all of Donald Trump's nominees for his cabinet should go through without any problem, which, by the way, should be the case for most presidents unless there's something extraordinary. Some of the breakdowns from the exit polls and analysis of how this vote went, there's some things that stick out. In some of these states, including Wisconsin, 20% of African-American men went for Donald Trump. Across the board in Michigan, Georgia, and other states, the youth vote, men and women both under the age of 30, men by an extraordinary margin. This is one of my favorite data points. ABC News has an analysis of the exit polls. Kamala Harris did worse with women than Joe Biden did.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. But everything that they threw at you, all of that. I just said that this is a new paradigm shift for the media and how they go about their business, and the fact that it goes well beyond just them predicting an election and polls and how they cover an election. But the fact that they became part of the story in characterizing and demonizing Donald Trump. It's all of the things that the media has thrown at Donald Trump, how they have, like I said, demonized him and marginalized him and, frankly, dehumanized him. The American people heard you. We couldn't help but hear you. We don't care. We don't care what you have to say. Report the news and facts. We are still going to be able to make up our mind. We get to have the last say here. And that's the part of it that I hope is going to humble these people. But
Nothing will humble them, first of all. But secondly, also stop speaking for great swaths of people in this country. What they said was this was going to be sort of driven. Women were going to vote a certain way because of Dobbs, right? That they would never give this back to Trump, who is responsible for Dobbs, who is responsible for the overturning of Roe. They said abortion, abortion, abortion. And that is why the Independent Women's Forum, which I've worked for nearly 20 years, exists, because we were told around the Clarence Thomas hearings that women only care about issues that land somewhere between their chest and their knees, okay? And it's tiresome. Yeah. It's irritating. Women also, they have jobs, they pay taxes, they have kids in school, they also have sons, okay? And they have husbands, and they care about issues beyond abortion. So, yes, it would be nice if the sort of corporate media would sort of be humbled by this, but they won't. They will continue this drumbeat.
And to that end, what did we hear for the last week? Because of a joke told at a rally in New York, that meant the Puerto Rican vote and the Latino vote was going to be up in arms. First of all, Puerto Ricans and people of Latin descent, they understand a joke when they hear it.
Yeah, they have a sense of humor.
A joke. Yeah. They may not have liked the joke, but they recognize that is not a reflection on the candidate or even the person telling the joke, for that matter. And then you fast forward to yesterday, the exit polls in Michigan. Donald Trump won the Latino vote 60-35. So, which brings me to another thing that I believe this is a victory over, and that is, in general, identity politics. If I said all Kamala Harris had in her campaign was that Trump is Hitler. She had one other thing, and that was the identity politics.
Yep.
She's a woman. She's a woman of color. She's a woman of Asian descent. Pick your flavor. She accommodates you. We know that because she changed her accent.
That's right.
In front of every single audience she spoke to. Yep. And yes, she won certain demographics, but not by the extraordinary, overwhelming margins that many Democrats have done in the past. She pandered and pandered and pandered and pandered. And it didn't pay off in the way that they expected it to pay off, whether it was on the abortion issue or the border or immigration. Yeah, let's put an end to that one. Latino voters don't want amnesty. Latino voters don't want open borders.
Right.
The Latino voters, especially if they are legal immigrants, are as outraged as any of us about the lax border security. Identity politics hopefully has seen its last day in this country. She thought she could be Barack Obama in a skirt, which conjures images, but she didn't have it. She wasn't able to do that because we're done with that now.
Yeah, and the other thing that Kamala Harris did in her entire campaign is hide her. Now, I've heard some commentary this morning of, particularly on sort of MSNBC and CNN, the narrative is, I think it was Dana Bash actually at one point, either early this morning or late last night, said, the voters didn't really have an opportunity to get to know her.
We didn't have an opportunity to get to know the sitting vice president?
Right. Set aside the obnoxiousness of that comment. But also, how many long-form sort of podcasts like Joe Rogan, interviews did she refuse to do? And the reason is because she's unlikable.
Yeah.
And unscripted, it's off script, Trump actually can be charming and funny, and he's actually his best. Off script, she's a disaster.
That's right.
And so, these opportunities presented themselves. Joe Rogan, right? He invited her. She refused to go. So, first of all, I don't believe that the American public did. Yeah, but
no, we did get to know her. Every single time she did an interview, her poll numbers went down. That's why they protected her.
Yes, exactly.
That's why she didn't do those interviews, because
Dana,
the more we got to know her.
We knew her. Yeah. We knew her.
We absolutely did.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
I think Riley Gaines said it best on X. The American people, we have all been unburdened by what has been. And we are moving forward now with President-elect Donald Trump. And no, Kamala Harris did not address the people waiting for her at Howard University last night. Thank goodness it wasn't cold or rainy. Yes, it was classless. Yes, it was rude to her supporters, but it also sent a signal. Let me just say, for everyone hoping that we have some unity, some comedy in this country, that now that the election is over, we can move together. And I do literally pray for that on a regular basis. Being able to move forward begins with her making a statement. It begins with the one on the losing end of the election saying, listen, I had a lot of things to say about this man, but he won. The American people have spoken, and we got to move forward. Hopefully she will say that today. And but the fact that she didn't do it last night, she didn't say anything last night. in the fact that it's just radio silence from that side right there. That tends to feed the disdain. It feeds the division in this country because everyone who supported her, they're on that side too. They're sitting in that silence and they're wallowing in it. And
I have so much to say, but I know we're up against. You're going to kill me if I say anything.
You will say more. We have 4.5 hours. It's your special post-election day party on O'Connor and Company. It's 5:23.
Making sense of your world.
Greatly appreciated.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
I love listening to you.
Making sense of the news. Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:36. It's O'Connor and Company coming up at 6:35. Cal Thomas, 7:05. J. Christian Adams to talk about some of the counting that might be going on right now. At 8:05, Corey Lewandowski from the Trump campaign. But this counting that's going on in Philadelphia still and in Detroit and, well, it doesn't matter, Julie Gunlock, because we've got some breaking news. In the last 5 minutes, finally, both CNN and MSNBC have made their call. According to, if it matters to you, taking the source from CNN and MSNBC, they have now affirmed that Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States.
And more breaking news. Joy Reid has spontaneously combusted on screen.
Sadly, she is not on set right now, but Jen Psaki is, and she's not so happy.
No.
Yeah, both CNN and MSNBC in the last 5 minutes have called Wisconsin, which, of course, Fox News called around 2 in the morning. 1:30 in the morning. So there you go. It's got the imprimatur of the Peacock over at MSNBC, and Joe Scarborough is going to be fabulous in just about 2 hours.
Are they going to pull them off the air? I wonder.
That'd be great. Chris Stigall is here. Maybe he knows. Chris Stigall, wow, Pennsylvania. What a scene. What a story. Good morning to you, sir. Did you get any sleep?
Not a ton, although I am working on a new novel. I love that title, Imprimatur of the Peacock. I think that makes for a great murder mystery.
Thank you very much. Yes,
and
that's what you should.
Really enjoyed that. Good
morning. Could we
morning
at least collaborate on that? Okay, sorry, go ahead. Yes?
Pennsylvania, ladies and gentlemen, the Keystone State. How you like us now, huh?
Well, a little bit better than 4 years ago, that's for sure. It's a remarkable turn. And a lot of people, I think deservedly, we're giving kudos to Scott Pressler for his get out the vote efforts and his registration efforts. And that's not just lip service. Pressler really did help carry that state. It tells you something.
No, it really is a remarkable thing. And I have to say, Laura, Trump deserves a tremendous amount of kudos, I believe. The RNC did something that we didn't ever see in Pennsylvania in modern history. And that is came to the state and said, hey, guys, you're stuck with this stupid system that Republicans gave us, by the way, in Pennsylvania. This is this early voting of 50 days before Election Day. So now that we're stuck with this, we'd better figure out how to use it. And while Democrats still outpaced Republicans, the big story was, of course, that, between Scott Pressler's registration efforts and the RNC beating the Bushes, insisting Republicans turn their votes in early, Republicans ate into that lead that Democrats had in the last couple of election cycles by hundreds of thousands, and in the first case, millions. And this time with depressed Democrat interests and enthusiasm for Republican early voting, coupled with the crush of votes that happened on Election Day yesterday, it was a real red wave this time, not a mirage.
Chris, there's another factor, and that is the fact that she went with the weirdo Tim Walz over Josh Shapiro to satisfy the anti-Semites. I mean, I'm not gonna pussyfoot around this. That is exactly why she did this. And Josh Shapiro would have been a far better VP candidate, and probably would have brought in Pennsylvania. Don't you agree?
Well, Julie, I'll give you a little theory on this one. This is something I've been cooking up for a while now. I maintain Josh Shapiro never wanted anything to do with her. In fact, I'm not sure, and I need to check on this, but Josh Shapiro may well be at a ham fry in Iowa right now fundraising. Because I can't confirm it, but he may be fundraising.
He's eating
right
a pork
now.
chop on a stick as we speak.
No,
I think at the Iowa State Fair, getting set up. That guy wants to be the next Democrat star on deck. He has been humming Hail to the Chief since he was in a onesie. This guy wants to be president, you guys, like you can't believe. And I maintain he saw Kamala Harris as a loser. I think he turned her down. I don't think she passed him over. I think he said, I don't want you. I think he did the bare minimum to be helpful to her in Pennsylvania. And this is my house of cards theory. I think he was almost helpful in seeing her lose Pennsylvania last night, dare I say.
Chris, I check in on your show now and again on the podcast, and the Chris Stigall podcast is a great podcast. Obviously, the economy is a big issue. Borders a big issue. Crime is a big issue, lots of stuff. But you spend a lot of time talking about culture issues, the intangibles, the stuff that I think, you tell me, but I think that's the stuff that motivated this turnout. When you know, the gender issues, the anger over COVID, where we, the American people, still feel like there's been no accountability for the people who made our lives miserable. This is our first chance, really, as a nation, to be able to have our voices heard. And the best way to tell everyone how fed up we are is to put Donald Trump back in the White House. Do you think that's a big part of what happened in Pennsylvania?
It sure feels that way. I mean, I don't know if that's what we tell ourselves because we swim in the news every day, but boy, I sure do. I look, guys, I'm never going to get over the fact that this Biden White House tried to force us all to take a shot as a condition of our employment.
Yes.
I mean, we can't just skate over that.
Yeah.
The federal government said, if you want to continue to earn a living, inject this medicine into your system. And thank goodness we had a Supreme Court that stepped in. And how many stories like that, maybe more or less significant, has the Supreme Court been the one thing that stopped total tyranny, in my view, in many cases? And so, I think we were sick and tired of the back of our hand. We wanted to be just left alone. I don't even know that it's people that are hyper-partisan. They just want to be left alone, for heaven's sake.
Speaking of Chris Stigall, the morning man in Philadelphia, because I know that you've got one of those really easy schedules for a morning show. You start at 6. You're not on the air yet. Could you stick around, though, for one more segment? Because I got to ask you about the Senate race up there in the Keystone State.
Absolutely. Imprimatur of the Peacock.
Imprimatur of the Peacock. It's like, you know what? Some of us...
You better copyright that. He's taking it.
It's 5:43.
So much truth, you'll hope for traffic so you can hear it all on the Vince Colonnade Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
We continue with Chris Stigall, morning man in Philadelphia, and who'd have thunk it, Chris Stigall? Katy Perry and Lizzo didn't really appeal to those steel workers in Pennsylvania like Kamala thought they would. There's so much to unpack on this one, isn't there?
Particularly with Lizzo.
Okay.
Oh, stop.
Where do we?
Well, I mean, she.
Yeah, look at you.
I know what you mean.
She flies private.
I'm looking at the Senate race right now, and right now,
by the way, isn't Don Cheadle beautiful last night on MSNBC? I thought
missed
he
it.
looked really.
Oh no, that was Joy Reid, Chris. No, that was Joy Reid sitting next to Mark Cuban, anchoring the coverage.
No, yeah,
what?
that was Rachel Maddow.
Well,
but I get
on
it.
my
I'm
face.
so confused.
Why, you too.
95.6% of the precincts reporting in your Keystone State of Pennsylvania, and Dave McCormick still holds a 1 percentage point lead. Do you have any insight here? He ran a strong campaign against the incumbent.
Yeah, well, here, if this is any indicator as to the kind of trouble Democrats were in Pennsylvania, Bob Casey was running ads on television in the closing days. Bob Casey stood with Donald Trump to pass the fill-in-the-blank, whatever the issue was. Bob Casey and Donald Trump love chocolate cake. Bob Casey and Donald Trump are fans of yachting. I mean, it was just whatever he could.
With the Village People playing
say.
Underneath. They get a shot at David. I'm standing in my bathroom. Do you see my gold toilet?
Bob Casey once stayed at a Donald Trump resort and enjoyed himself. Really stretching, Bob.
That doesn't work.
So,
it doesn't.
Not afraid to wrap his arms around Donald Trump at the end. But no, it didn't seem to work. And right now, it appears 62,000 votes separate McCormick from Casey. I don't know where they're going to find it. I mean, never, ever doubt that if they can find votes, they'll find them in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Can they find 62,000? Maybe. But I think they'd have a hard time with it, given the mandate Trump just put up last night.
Yeah.
Chris, also would love your thoughts on this Amish turnout. Apparently unprecedented numbers of Amish, and there were these great videos of sort of the buggies and wagons showing up at the polling locations in Pennsylvania. What about this, and why hasn't that community been reached out to before?
Well, this is one of those things that you're talking about a new party. I can't say enough. You mentioned Scott Pressler, who has done yeoman's work. He literally relocated, bought a house, I think, and moved into Pennsylvania full time. And he has camped in Pennsylvania for the better part of a year. But the RNC and Laura Trump, not the state party, mind you, but it took new leadership coming in from the outside and saying, hey, guys, let's rethink the way we do things. And one of the ways was to go into the Amish community and start talking to them. And they seem to have engaged. We'll get some more data on that in the coming days, but they seem to have engaged at a level we have not seen there before. Young votes are, the people like Charlie Kirk and Vivek Ramaswamy really beat the college campuses around the Commonwealth. And we're going to see in short order if, in fact, that played out in their favor. I think a lot of young college-age men turned out this time.
And again, a real head-scratcher that Perry and Lizzo and all those folks didn't really appeal to the Amish community. A real shocker.
Well, and since Oprah's lost all her weight, she doesn't even eat shoe-fly pies anymore, so there's no relationship there.
That's right.
Chris, isn't it great to be? Honestly, last night what did I say when we were leaving the studio? I kind of want Trump to win just so we can all be in a good mood.
Oh, I know.
And I want our listeners to be happy.
Yes.
I want some good, because it's been rough. And
Aren't we do this?
Thank you.
Yes.
Do it.
Exactly. Chris, one other I think insight into Pennsylvania, I think, has to do. You just mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy. This coalition, this absolutely absurd coalition that we would all laugh at 4 years ago, of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard.
Nerd Avengers.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect, and God knows there will be books written about this campaign, I think that RFK Jr. thing really was the difference maker. He was polling around 4% when he dropped out in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, and Wisconsin. What do you think? And do you have any concerns about what this governing administration looks like with this very interesting coalition?
Trump's no dummy, nor does he have to apologize for anything at this point. Last night you heard during the speech, he goes, and what about Bobby Kennedy? He's great, huh? Just don't touch the oil. It was like I love that he immediately went with, hey, you can do all your health stuff, but we're not going to talk eco stuff on my watch. Stay out of my drill. It's like he knows what's up, and he's not screwing around. So, no, I think the Kennedy thing is an interesting angle because Biden has always been considered Pennsylvania's third senator, old Scranton Joe.
Yeah.
A lot of working class Catholics, white Catholics. And time will tell, but I don't think that there were a number of Democrats, maybe moderate center Democrats, who weren't ticked off at the way old Joe was treated and Kennedy was treated. And I think a lot of working class Democrats might have fled based on that.
How great is the Joe Biden tour going to be in the next 6 months? The stuff that's going to be said.
And Jill Biden showing up in a red suit. There's some revenge coming.
Seriously, in the book, he's going to do a book tour. The book will be titled "I Would Have Won," and it's going to be glorious.
Listen, I think maybe you could literally make the case he would have done better last night than she, even in his current state. And I'm kind of serious.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, real fast. I don't know if you heard from our John Matthews in news. Dow futures, as we speak, Dow futures right now up 1,200 points.
Yeah, I heard Bitcoin is going bananas. Tesla,
Dow futures,
Donald Trump's.
This is what a day! What a day! This is one of those days where you think about people in your life. I thought about you. I'm glad we got to talk. Actually, my friend, this is it's one of those things, and I'm thinking of two other people who I can't talk to today, and that's Rush Limbaugh and Andrew Breitbart. And it's just
this one's for Rush, isn't it?
Amen.
Isn't this one for Rush?
Amen. Oh yeah, well, we kicked off the show with his music.
Yeah, I
suggest
there
you
would
do
be
the
no
same.
one more delighted than this. That's a great idea. I'll steal it since I get to start an hour later.
Well, wouldn't be the first time.
Oh, you too.
All right, Christopher. I'll talk to you later, my friend. Thanks, man.
Chris.
God bless you guys. Enjoy the day.
Yeah, God bless.